Hi everybody, Pam, Stitching Between the Lines. Today is Thursday, September 3rd, 2020. It's been a while. I have lots to show, lots to tell, lots to talk about. First off, I need to thank everybody who did reach out to ask me if I was all right. I understand sometimes we get worried when somebody doesn't film for a while, and we'll talk about that in just half a second. But first, I bought a microphone and I tested it a couple times and I didn't hear me either way, microphone plugged in or unplugged. So I didn't know what that was all about, but maybe I think we have it working. I sure hope I don't have to film this twice because that wouldn't be any fun. Sorry, there's stuff here. It's been quite a ride. 2020 is not getting any better for most of us, I don't think. Not around here. The day after I made my last video, we lost Murphy. It was a sad occasion. A few days prior to that, I had taken him to the vet for an urgent care visit, and he was diagnosed with lung cancer. Very advanced, nothing could be done. So I've talked about Murphy a lot. Both my cats were adopted. They'd been abandoned. They'd had a hard start in life. We turned him from a wild and crazy cat who didn't really appear to want people to pay him a lot of attention, and we turned him into the sweetest, loving guy. We brought him through a cancer bout a year ago, and at that time he was believed to be cancer-free. Test results showed anyway. So this came as quite a shock, as you can imagine, because he had no symptoms up until the day I took him to the vet. It's funny with pets, you know you're going to outlive them. I feel like we didn't have him long enough. He was only about 8.5 years old, and he was about 2 years old when we got him. And one of the things about pets, we've always had cats. We had a very, very small window of time when we had no cats. I remember the first time he ever got on my lap, which was more than a year after we got him, maybe a year and a half. He wasn't a cat that really wanted to be held or need to sit on your lap. So I can very specifically remember that time. And another time, I was the only person who could pick him up. Not in the beginning. I mean, I would pick him up, but he didn't like it. Maybe if I had to move him or something. But one day, both the cats have a lot of separation anxiety, having been abandoned. And one day was a weekend, and everybody had left the house. So must be the last person had left the house, and I was still there in the basement in my sewing room, and he came and found me. His utter and sheer delight at finding somebody home. He wanted me to pick him up and cuddle him and cuddle him and cuddle him, and he purred and purred. He had the loudest purr ever. Cuddle him and hold him, and he was a 17-pound sack of potatoes. So it's not quite like when you hold a 17-pound child where it's just not. It's just different. It's a sack of potatoes, and I could hold him for so long and then have to put him down, which you hate to do. But if you sat down holding him, he didn't want any part of that. But anyway, he was such a sweet boy. I don't know if Cooper's in the room or not, but we say don't tell Cooper, but Murphy was our favorite. And he was, I think, because his affections were so hard won. So what makes me happy is that we had Murphy and we could give him a good life, because while we believe his first owner didn't mistreat him, I think maybe they were rough with the cats. I think they were rough with the cats. They came to us with some basic manners, but they didn't need a lot of lap time. Cooper is very clingy. He wants to be with me or with somebody, or doesn't, but he's more, I guess I would say, a typical cat. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Okay, this is a chopped up video. I, I'm gonna switch you just a little bit. I made the video yesterday. There was the introduction, which you saw. I um, it, talked about getting a microphone, testing it, so on. And um, I stopped the video. I made a clip. I made the video. So at some point I tested to see how the sound was, and I didn't plug the microphone back in. So, and ultimately the video ended up being a basic hot mess. I was all over the place. I said I need to videotape inside a closet maybe, because I'm sitting where I have windows to my right and windows ahead to my left, and I just gaze around, I guess. So I was having some problems keeping myself in one spot. I also tend to fidget and move a lot, and when I watched the last clip I just showed, I wiggled around a lot. So I will try to do better on that. And I also plugged the microphone in, and it's closer to me, but I could definitely hear a difference, an absolute difference with and without the microphone. So I really hope it makes a difference. I don't want to exclude anybody from enjoying a Flosstube. I neglected to say in the very, very beginning that this is Flosstube number 83, I believe. And let's get down to business. I apologize. I'm right up front if I start repeating myself, because I made the video, I've watched it, I've mentally prepared the video in my brain. So hopefully I don't leave things out. Life's been a little busy, not busy, funny, COVID-19 2020 busy. Contractors. We have a lot of contractors in. So the journey of this house, I took you on in the beginning when we first moved in, and we went and saw rooms and things and details. We talked about the horrible, the words defy description, fireplace that's in the living room. The house is a timber frame. Which means it's built with the big exposed beams, and there's a lot of natural wood. And this fireplace was plastered to look like marble, a very Mediterranean style, that the owner sponge painted. I don't know what the ultimate look was trying to be. And then they also faux painted the wall behind the fireplace to look like tile. So I'll put a picture in here. So you can see what I'm referring to. So one of my biggest goals was replacing that fireplace. And not only replacing the fireplace because of the way it looked, but it was a wood-burning fireplace, as was the one in the basement family room, which is a beautiful river rock fireplace. That's just not a functional heat producing piece of, I don't know, useful furniture in the house. I don't know. And anyway, so we've been working for the last 2 months, I'd say, with some various contractors, and ordering and picking and deciding how to convert, number one, the basement fireplace to have a gas insert. So that was easy. And at the same time have them reconstruct the living room fireplace. So I'm going to put 3 pictures in just for a quick, the original, the new, what it looks like. Still needs some finished carpentry, and we're working on picking out paint for the surrounding wall, and the basement one, so that you can see that, which you didn't know what that looked like the first time anyway. But the house, it was very typical of houses on the lake. They are quite often somebody's summer home, and as the previous owner, who was the builder or who had the house built, that was the case for them. So the house doesn't necessarily lend itself to warm and cozy in the winter. And the basement has been consistently too cold. It has heat, it has air conditioning, and part of the problem is it has air conditioning, so it makes it too cold in the summer. And the heat just it just isn't strong enough down there. So being able to flip on a fireplace to take the chill out of the air is going to make that space so much more useful. Same for the living room. And the family room, like where I'm filming and where we have our evening TV watching, that kind of thing. There's already a gas fireplace, so that helps. But this room in particular has no basement under it, so it's not the warmest of rooms. We have another room off the kitchen that was once upon a time a screened-in porch, also with no basement under it. So we have some chilly spaces in the house. So anyway, and the other thing we've had done is we are having a second garage built, and it's a 2-story garage, and so it's tall. And sorry, I'm checking that. Sorry. Sorry, I need to respond to one of the kids. So we are having a second garage built, back to homes being a summer home. When the homeowner would leave to go south or wherever they went for the winter, it would be easy for them to take their cars out of the garage, because that's what they were taking with them, and put all their patio furniture, down by the beach furniture, any kind of beach water toys they have, into the garage. We can't do that because we're here year round. So this second garage, like my husband's lawn tractor, he had a nice workshop. That's the kind of stuff that'll be out there. We have a sunfish and a jet ski, which sit together on a trailer. That'll be able to winter in that barn, or garage, sorry. In our other house, we had a big barn, an outbuilding. So sometimes we still call the outbuilding, which in this case is the second garage. We still kind of refer to it as a barn. Anyway, so it's been being built, and I have video to insert. I will put it at the end in case this is the kind of thing that sort of, first of all, you have no interest in. Sorry, I've just bored you to tears with my life details for the last 15 minutes. But the Mennonite crew that our builder has, when they built the garage, has a very, very peaky roof. It's very peaked, very tall. There's an upstairs, so it's wide. It's like you can walk, the whole length of it, and then there's dormer windows that pop out of the sides. So when the crew is putting up the rafters, first of all, came in 2 parts. There's rafters that only go this far. They don't go to a peak. And then there's a flat, because there will be some flat ceiling in there. And then there's a second piece that goes up, and it's the little triangle on the top that makes the peak. So when they're up there putting those things up, be still my heart. They're up there walking on them. And it was like an honest to goodness barn raising, Amish barn raising, like you see the pictures of. And the work crew is Mennonite. So they're in their hats, and they're wearing their tool belts, which I can't even imagine how much those weigh, walking around up the rafters, up on top of the rafters. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. My husband had to work the day they were starting to frame, which included the rafters. And so he wanted pictures. And so I videotaped a little bit. And then I stopped videotaping, and then the man went up even higher, and so I started taping again. So it might be about 2.5 minutes of making me nervous. I kept sending him pictures. Every picture I sent him, he wanted me to send him throughout the day so he could see the progress too. But every time I sent a picture, it involved people being really high up. And no safety ropes, nothing. I did not take a picture the day they were putting the roof on, because that was even more intense. I didn't even want to go out there. I didn't want to cause any sort of noise, because they were up on the roof. More than one person, if the top guy stumbled, he would be taking out everybody down below him. So anyway, I include that because to me it was fascinating. It might be entertaining. I don't know. So anyway, that'll be at the end, and I'll warn you that that's coming. So what else? So my fireplace guys were in the house for 3 days. These guys are out in the yard all the days. There's a lot of things happening. There's somebody here today. They're out insulating the new barn, and they're coming in and insulating the garage because the roof is not insulated, so we get ice damming in the gutters because it's not insulated like it should be. So that'll involve a lot of noise, and maybe that'll occur after I videotape. So let's get down to business. I was in prior videos, I talked about trying to stick to some kind of plan where I worked on projects 1 week at a time so that I don't end up, because I enjoy the mania process and starting things and having a whole bunch of things go on, and that's just kind of fun. But then I ignore them all the way for an entire year. So I'm really trying to stick to some kind of rotation-ish plan with no rules as to what I work on, but I'm trying to stick to 1 week per project, 3 weeks out of the month, and then a fourth week working on something that's in my bin of it should be able to be finished in less than a week. Some of the chaos and disruption that happens means that something that should be finished in less than a week takes an entire week because there's days of zero stitching, like yesterday, for example. Anyway, I want to show some of the things. I FFO'd Beach by Rovaris. I made it into a drum. This is the first time I've ever made a drum. So we'll just go around, look at the picture. I kept seeing it as a drum. Like I said, I never have made a drum. I watched somebody on YouTube, just caught my eye. It's not anybody I follow or anything, make a drum. So I kind of followed along. I made the cording out of the same blue and white colors that are in the piece. I stuffed it with sawdust, and I stuffed it and stuffed it and stuffed it. It came out well. There's a pin holding that in there. It's not really that it's like a big nubby white thing. There is a pin in there. I'm not convinced it's going to stay here, but this came with the pattern, this mermaid charm, and in this instant, it's on the actual the finishing portion, not anywhere on the picture, so I couldn't really decide where I thought it should go. Had I stitched it on a higher count, or like a lower count, I guess, so that it came out bigger, I think it would have hung on the little cabana somewhere, but it's just too big. It doesn't gracefully hang on the cabana. So I wanted in my mind, I wanted a more domed top, but I barely had enough fabric, and I kept bringing out fabric to try to sample, and I just wanted this red fabric with white polka dots, and the circle was so small it couldn't accommodate multiple layers of batting. For example, there's one layer under there, no layers on the bottom. So that's the way that worked out. I also see it with a shell on top, not a three-dimensional shell, but like a little slice of a shell, and I know where those can be found when I'm in Florida. I know where I can find one of those, and that's where this is going. It's going to go live in Florida. So that came out. I'm happy with it. I don't know that it's perfect. I'm not sure if somebody was paying me to make their thing into a drum that I would be satisfied, but it's good. You have to start somewhere. I spent a week on Mermaids of the Deep Blue. This was not a mania start. I had put some random stitches in at one other time, so it was technically already a whip during mania. And during mania, I did this young lady. I had started, my very initial start involved, I think her forearm. So I stitched her in mania, and then my next week of work on her involved, I had to ground myself down here with already stitched parts and come up and get working on her flesh. I did it 2/2. It's not 1/1. In fact, it wasn't even charted 1/1, and I'm not reinventing the wheel at this phase of my stitching life. And I watched Yanni. Remember, you know who Yanni is in Mexico? She talked about doing the faces first so that they had faces, which does kind of make it more endearing to stitch on. and outlining it as you go to help you figure out, all the fractional stitches. So I enjoyed this portion of this young lady less than I did stitching this. I just kept looking at the first part like, oh my gosh, look at all this color shading. So the shading is beautiful. I'm not saying that. The arms and the hands were a lot more challenging. I don't believe I'm done with her face, which is why it's not outlined yet. My next week, I hope to do their hair. Such beautiful flowing red hair. So there's one of my weeks since we last visited. I finished, this was in my bin of needs less than a week. My Prairie Schooler, started it last July. Yeah, I think July. It took me all this time. Really, I didn't commit a lot of time and energy to it until Mania. And I worked on it Mania, and I worked on it a smattering of times, because it's an easy one to pick up. It's on a 28 count even weave. Easy to pick up when I'm somewhere other than where I have a magnifier. So these are intense. You sit down and you get started, and you do, all of a sudden in one sitting you have like a whole section done, and you think, wow, this will take no time. Then you do things like the water. And the water takes days, days and days of detail work. But Prairie Schoolers, they're timeless. So that was July. This was also in my less than a week bin, and I did indeed finish it. Little House Needleworks, Seaside Summer Alphabet. Mania Start. I love that. I just love it. It came with the silk, which is Classic Colorworks. Can't read backwards. Chester's Blue, and this is about all I had left. So it just used a skein almost of silk, and I did it on a piece of Belfast Stormy Clouds. It's the sticker doesn't tell me who it's by. I'm going to guess who does that, where it's painted on one side and not the other. It's just fabulous. It's just fabulous how beautiful it is. I see it maybe as a drum, but I'm not sure I want that much of the picture to be obscured at any one time. If it's round and, when you're setting it out, you can't see the whole thing at once. And this is too pretty. So like I said, I don't have a clear-cut idea there. Oops, I forgot to put the pattern with it. I also finished this. Deja Vu says maybe I showed you this. I can't recall exactly. Country Cottage Needleworks Winter. I left the snowflake button off. Sometimes a button all of a sudden smacking, like, I don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't do it for me. I just put a snowflake in the same spot where the button should have been. So he's waiting for a plan. I don't know what it is. I'd like it to be framed. I'd like to frame it in the same. I bought one of these frames from Fat Quarter Shop, and I don't know if it's the same size. It's ready for me to frame a different piece. If they happen to work together, I will make them removable so I can put one in and take one out. And finally, I've actually spent a little tiny bit more than a week on this one because it's sitting out. I finished the July. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm feeling like working on. So, Ornaments All Around by Glendon Place. Let me make sure I get you the correct view. It is so pretty. It's just so pretty. It uses DMC and a lot of Krynic and a lot of beads. I have to turn around and look at this. Oh, it is empty. I was putting some of the Krynic in. This is where I ended the other night. So mostly I just put a little bit of the Krynic in, like I put it in this ornament. That's nothing Krynic in that one yet. And I put it's the orange gold kind of color in there. So during Mania, the day I worked on it in Mania, I did a little bit of all four of these ornaments that are the center. And in the week that I've been working on it, I've finished up the stitching in these, haven't done the Krynic, and did from this green leafy stuff up to this green leafy stuff. The green leafy stuff, no fun. I have to use a copy of the pattern and I have to mark off where I've stitched, so I'm kind of trying to like plow through some of it just so that yuck, that's all I can say. It is not my favorite. We have insulating going on, like I said, in the new garage plus the old garage, and so there's a truck running outside, and that's the truck that's pumping the insulation, and I keep hearing car doors, so I don't really know. That's why I keep looking, and I don't know what I'm hearing specifically. We can't park in our own driveway, and so I'm parked next door, and I always feel they have given us permission to do, but if they come for the weekend, I want my car out of the way. I mean, it's parked up in their yard, but it's kind of them to share with us, which is a necessity really when you live in a lake area. People don't generally have a lot of parking, and parking is at a premium. So our new garage will give us space to pull some cars off the road and park, and not in just our driveway. So anyway, enough about that. So let me see what's in my pile of things that I have been kitting up. I somehow get these urges. Oh, I forgot to mention this one that I worked a week on. And this is actually the second week of working on it since Mania. Interestingly enough, the pattern's not in here. But probably when I made the video yesterday, it was out and I left it out. So excuse me while I turn around and look. It is not. It is not. It's my Paula Von July. Did y'all watch me do that? Did you watch me take it out of the bag first and set it over there while I looked for, I don't know what, this book? Anyway, apparently it is not serving me well today. My multitasking. I did remember to plug in the mic, and I'm also trying not to cover up my mouth. Paula Von's July was a Mania start and a Sal. Paula Von, S-A-L, on Instagram. I think I'm the only person that's posted on it so far, which is fine. And I follow it, and I've not ever seen anybody else post. When I work on this again, I'll post. Anyway, 2 full weeks plus a day or two of during Mania has this much done. I really am looking forward to doing the quilt. So the second quilt, the blue and white one. So I left that undone at this point and spent my second week working on it, doing the house behind it. I think it needs at least 2 weeks more of stitching because there's going to be a lot of fractional stitches in these, which may include some back stitching just to get it done. And then probably I bet there's 3 more weeks of work on this. Enjoying it. Hated to put it away. So it's liable to come out again for another week of work. But I have other Mania pieces I have yet. Mania either starts or whips that I worked on at least one day during Mania that have not been touched. And how many months are we past Mania? June, July, August, 3 months, good 12 weeks. I finished some things, but there's a lot of neglected projects. I went, this is plans. I was looking through some files of projects and I pulled out some fall things that just were, number one, kitted up. All the stuff is in there. That just looked like they would be nice seasonal things. I had this one out to do last year because it doesn't look like more than a couple days, and I still never did it. This one was a recent purchase. No kidding or anything. No, it's not kitted, right? Let's say the words. I have another kitted project that I see sitting over there that I want to get and talk about. I put together all the necessary supplies for Shannon Christine's, I don't know what she calls this one. Each individual pattern has a name, like Here Comes Santa Claus. So when she puts all of those 5 patterns together, I'm not sure, it might be called what the little free part of the border that you get is 'Tis the Season. So from her website you could get the border and it comes with this little portion as well. I would really like to stitch that border and be ready. I have a piece of chalkboard. I did this before when I made the video yesterday. I pulled it out and the label for the fabric was backwards and I stuck it back in there backwards. Fiberlicious's chalkboard, 28 count Lugana. I honestly don't know where I got this. But it's going to be a good piece for this project. I hope I don't have a difficult time stitching on it because I really want to do the chalkboard look. The colors are just very traditional, reds and greens. I pulled out this Tingles by Lizzie Kate. I bought a couple years ago. Downloaded the border. Is it upside down? Yep. Downloaded the border. Have all the pieces, the elements. What would be ideal is if I could stitch up the whole border part and then just pop in one of the patterns now and again. So that's my seasonal craving, really, for the most part. I put together my next Prairie Schooler because that's in my world a rule that a Prairie Schooler can always be underway. I stitched this one a few years ago and I'm going to stitch this one on a piece of Monaco antique white. I have my friend Carol, Stitching Dreams. We were at a gathering together and she pulled it out and she just needed to put, I don't know, an hour's worth of stitches in something and it was done and it was so beautiful. So typical of Prairie Schooler that their patterns, their pictures just don't do them service. So I got the pattern out, found the fabric, went through my flosses, pulled them all out and needed a few, put them on my list, went shopping. They don't distinguish in this book which pattern uses which threads. This one was on my list, which I imagine doesn't really go in here. Do you see how that pretty blue, number 930, I think, 924. I imagine this probably goes somewhere different. One of the other pictures. I can't find where there's anything blue in here. I really don't see 924 up there either, or there. So that will be interesting. That will be the test to see where 924 crops up. Pretty. It'll be pretty. It will be pretty. And then if you can excuse me for half a second, I'm going to step away. When I made this video yesterday, this is one of the flaws of the video, is I turned away a lot of times to pick things up. This time it's like one epic leaving. I turned away a lot as I looked at things to talk about them, and again, trying to do better at focusing. So let me tell you why there's a whole big stack of fabric in front of me. I talked a video or two ago about Kim of Barbara's Daughter wanting to change this to a Christmas red and green, more primitive village. And she'd got the idea from somebody else, somebody I don't watch, so I can't attribute it correctly. I can only tell you where I got it. And she had picked a bunch of combinations of threads, a lot of them Victorian motto, and I don't have Victorian motto threads. And it would mean me just blindly buying threads that maybe weren't really going to be shades that I liked together. So I got out my drawers. I have a 9-drawer old library card catalog, I guess, and at least 6 of the drawers are full of all my fancy flosses in the baggies. And it works pretty well. I don't know an alternative plan, plus it looks cool. So I pull out the drawers and I started going through. Well, first of all, I thought, I love Lori Holt, so I'm not disparaging her at all. And this could be a very prim style based on her normal style, but it's not really primitive as I see it. So I went and I got what I felt were some primitive fabrics. And this right here is a fabric bundle. These are all fat quarters from a particular line. So I did not take it apart. The reds or the blacks and browns down below don't represent anything in this plan. I don't want to take it apart. So I am focusing on the reds, and then I pulled a bunch of greens that to me are more of a primitive red and green look. And so I went through my drawers one by one, filing, ruffling through and pulling out greens and reds. And I came up with some various combinations. We can chat about what colors I chose if you're feeling like anybody would like to mimic what I'm doing. But my very first example is an example of what can happen. I have in my floss drawers all of the either Weeks, Crescent Colors, or Gentle Arts. And they're alphabetically filed. So that's just what works for me. This is Bean Sprout. And both of these are Bean Sprout. And look at the difference. And they're actually both Bean Sprout by the same designer. Some colors have the same name and they're different designers, companies, whatever. These are the same. And this is the difference. But I paired them up as a potential for a house. So my point being is you can write down Bean Sprout, and your bean sprouts could all always be this light color or all the dark color. So you're not going to be able to have maybe the exact same things that I do just because of the differences. So Bean Sprout was one of the greens. I think I only had 2 green combinations. Oh no, there's 3. Here is Weeks, Lily Pad, and Chives. Chives being sampler threads. So let's see where we get a little bit of, there we go. You can see there's a lighter and a darker. So that's the objective in this pattern, is to have a dark and a light shade. And then I have some more greens that are English Ivy and I think baby spinach. Another green. And these all pretty much stay in the same tone of the fabrics I picked out to considered primitive looking in my mind. And then for reds, I had a lot easier time with reds. I have brick and clay pot. I don't want to disrupt these, so I don't want to put them all on a ring or anything. I want to keep them as a pair. So they're clipped together. Aztec Red and Apple Fritter. Apple Fritter has got beautiful variegation. If you're looking for a red for something, ooh, that's a beautiful one. I have Calico Kitty and Rustic Cottage. Now, Rustic Cottage was a one-off. I was at a retreat where they gave us some limited editions, and that's what rustic cottages, so it's highly unlikely most people would be able to get their hands on that. And finally, I have Tennessee red clay and cherry cobbler. So those are my reds and greens. And then I had to go looking for this when I made the video. Yes. Ooh, sorry. I just covered up the microphone. Oh my goodness. It's not a perfect system as of yet. And I cannot find. I had a floss of Weeks Noel, or I had a skein of Weeks Noel, which when I find it, I will put a picture right here, that I want to do all this edge with. It's a perfect red and green and gold of, you know, the fabrics that, or the flosses I have picked. I don't know where it went, because look, here's its baggie. And like I said, yesterday I didn't have it in my bag either. It was over on my workspace. I don't see it over there. I'm not going to go try and get it. I will try to find a picture of it and put it in. So that was just a oops on my part. And then lastly, excuse me. Still not lastly. Oh, here it is. Sorry, it's in my cart, like I'm going to work on it, which I was thinking I might. I heard about on Nell, Little Yellow House Craft, about the Shannon Christine Ornament of the Month club that you could join. You could join in August and get 2 patterns at a discount. They're patterns that either are available or will be available to everybody, just not at the discount. So every month for 5 months, you get 2 patterns for $8. So that's combined 2 patterns, 2 ornaments for $8. And I think to the people who didn't join the club, they're $10. So $5 a piece. I don't know if, I'm guessing they're sold separately if this is considered 2 ornaments. So this is the first one, and it's traditional greens and reds. There was a freebie. I believe there's going to be a freebie every month. The freebie for the month of September hasn't come out yet, but this was the one for the month of August. So you can join the club at any time, but you can't get the previous, is my understanding, you can't get the previous ornaments at the discount. So 2 were available plus a freebie in August, and 2 are available now in September. The freebie's not out yet. So these are more the aqua pinkish sort of shades. If you go to her website, I am pretty sure on the tab across the top that says clubs, where you learn about it, that there's pictures of all of these, not the freebies, but these. So the more aqua pink ones, I think I am going to do on this fabric. Yesterday I had a better division of all my threads so that I could show you more accurately all the colors that will go with each of the series, whether they're the pink aquas or the reds and greens. So I think that that'll work well. I'll make one and see how it, I'll stitch one up and see how it works. If it doesn't work, then it's an ornament that I maybe don't ever FFO. So FFOing ornaments is not high on my list of things I like to do. I can do it. I am wondering if I said this out loud or just thought it in my head after I did all those Annie B's ornaments last time around, that I wasn't going to do any more ornaments. So if I just thought it in my head, that means I don't have to hold myself to it. If I said it out loud to all you guys, then that makes me a liar. So this is the like candy cane fabric. I think I might try for the traditional reds and greens. And it is called Pink Peppermint Candy Striped. It's an even weave. More than likely, both of these came from 123 Stitch and their fabric flare. Don't hold me to it. I can't swear it. I also pulled out some opalescent blue from Color and Cotton that maybe I would try. I don't know. I don't think it's going to work on the pink and aqua, but maybe more on the traditional reds and greens. Choices. I gave myself choices. So, there we go. So, it is the start of Labor Day weekend. It is, I think I said in yesterday's video, in the first segment, I apologize for repeating. Next week is the start of school in New York, and it is alarmingly stressful. My girls work in different districts, and they have different issues with getting everybody started and different styles of starting. It's stressful. I don't envy anybody who's a parent who has to make the choice as to how their children will be educated this year. I think I know what I would do, but that's my imagination now, not thinking back to what phase of my kid's life could something like this have happened. Were they in their most significant high school years, or could everybody have been in elementary school? I don't know. Like I said, it's easy for me to say what I would do, but really, my kids are all quite different and would have had different hurdles no matter which way I went. So hats off to parents. There's no right or wrong. Hindsight's we can't live our life like hindsight would have, we're doing the best we can do to keep families moving forward, children moving forward, and just praying and hoping that we're almost at the end. I'm very fortunate and very lucky that I can mostly stay home, and I go out and do the necessities, and I'm not unhappy under those circumstances. There's things I wish we moved to this new town. We've had a lot of social life in this town for a long time, and all of that is non-existent now. So that's kind of like, shoot. So, but we're very lucky. My girls and their significant others come around on the weekends. Everybody's living a very, quiet life. So we have them, and we have, a setting that is very conducive to just kind of staying and doing our thing. So anyway, I'm feeling very fortunate, I realize, and hoping that everybody else is comfortable and safe and doing the things that need to be done. What else? What's coming up? Labor Day weekend. I started to say that. The girls are heading back to teaching, although I just in the last seconds got a text from one of my daughters that their open date has already been moved 2 days further in the future. Their district is struggling to be prepared. It's not easy. It's not easy what is expected of them, and they're trying their hardest. They're trying their best. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great weekend. If you celebrate a holiday weekend for Labor Day or not, still have a good weekend. In the Northeast, fall is creeping into our air, which I love. I love that it's cooling off. Who wouldn't? So anyway, blah, blah, wander. Here we go. So I'm popping in the video here at the end of my very talented garage builders. So if you're into watching something like that, enjoy it. And I appreciate everybody's kind words and well wishes and kind thoughts. I know the loss of a cat, a pet, a loved pet is a small thing. There's a lot more that people are dealing with, and I realize that this is just a little blip in our otherwise kind of not favorite year. I don't think that's left us a little raw. So anyway, stitch away, stitch the things. Bye.